Okay. First of all, Party in the Pines is coming up on Saturday. Still have some tickets available, and we do have them available on the website, but I encourage you to get those at the office if you have a chance. If you're still interested in coming, to drop by and get those by Friday and enjoy the event. We're really looking forward to it. We think it's going to be a great venue, and I think the weather forecast is pretty good right now, so it should be a nice event. Second, just a few quick opening remarks. We've got a lot of work going on throughout the plantation, and obviously we're coming into Heritage. Harbor Town, the clubhouse is complete. If you have not been there, you should go by. It's really quite spectacular. We've done a fantastic job, and it's a great amenity for the entire resort and community. Annual meeting is on May 8th. Proxies are in the mail today, so you should be getting those hopefully before the end of the week. Make sure you get those back in. I believe it's 30 days to get those back in for us, and we really appreciate your participation. The annual meeting is May 8th. Road paving schedule. Just want to go through some things that we're doing. We've had a pretty wet winter, and it's put us behind on a lot of schedules. Actually, we were trying to get the corner of Plantation and Lighthouse redone prior to this, but unfortunately with weather as well as the contractor schedule, we had to do it this week. That is now complete from a paving perspective. Apologize for all the delays. We do have some additional patchwork that is happening and road repairs on Greenwood Drive near the trolley lot. We have some in Carolina Place. On Plantation Drive, we're continuing to do some repairs there. Lighthouse by Lighthouse Villas, as you're turning in there, we're doing some road work there as well. Lighthouse Lane at Lighthouse Road, we're also doing some repairs. And then South Sea Pines from Lighthouse to the Ocean Gate, we're doing some repairs as well. So just awareness, hopefully we'll have all of those complete this week as long as the weather cooperates. And again, we've got a pretty good forecast. Paving projects for 2015, phase 1 will start after Heritage, and hopefully will be done by mid-May. And that's going to be repaving Deer Run, Wagon, Woodbine, and Willow Oak. So all of those streets are on the schedule for the first phase of our road paving. Phase 2 starts mid-May and finishes July 1st, and that is Wood Duck and Sand Fiddler. Now, that's our original plan and schedule. Obviously weather, issues with the contract being able to be completed, any events that might come up between now and then can have an impact on that schedule, but that's our intention to get done within that time frame. And then phase 3 starts in September and hopefully will be finished by mid-October. With a caveat to that, it's going to be Beach Lagoon that we're doing at that time. We've got a project going on with Beach Lagoon with the lagoon, and we're trying to coordinate the paving for the completion of the project. So if we don't get the project done to address some of the lagoon issues that we have there, then that may get delayed as well. Additionally, at the end of the year, we're trying to get Fraser Circle redone. It's going to require a redesign of the circle, however, so the paving of that will be subsequent to any improvements to Fraser Circle. So we have to go through that whole process with the town, with an engineer and design, and get that all permitted and completed. And our objective is to try to get that done by the end of the year as well. So that's how we're starting out, and we'll give updates as we go on a monthly basis as to where we are with all of our road paving. So lots of projects going on and lots of improvements. One of our biggest road paving projects I think we've had in years is going to be occurring this year. So lots of roads being paved. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Charlie Miner to give an update on ASPO bylaw.
Okay. Thank you. I'm using the old technology. Talk loud. As Brett mentioned, the annual meeting is May 8th. It's Friday, May 8th at 3 p.m. at the Country Club. It's followed by refreshments and a social hour, so I'm sure you want to attend. We have 3 bylaw changes, and ASPO is your organization as property owners, so for us to do anything, it has to be approved by the property owners. And we have 3 bylaw changes which were approved by our board but need to be approved by you. Your proxy statement will allow us to do that. The 3 bylaw changes are relatively straightforward. One prohibits any board member from receiving compensation from ASPO as a contract for 1 year after they've left office. So that avoids any appearance of conflict of interest. The second change sets the date of counting the ballots at December 1st, which is our current practice, and gives us time to do the organization issues within ASPO before the end of the year. And the third one allows ASPO board members to attend the board meeting by electronic means, so by video or by telephone. And in my view, that just helps your representation, because if somebody for some physical reason can't be at the board meeting, they can attend by telephone. So those are the three bylaw amendments. As Brett said, if you will sign your proxies and send them in, the secretary, Mr. Westbeck, will vote in favor of those three things. And that's really my update on ASPO.
Can you all hear me? Can you turn my thing on? Oh, there we go. I said y'all, you know. I'm not really from the South, but I got here as quick as I could. All because of sea pines. Last month I told you something about the problem. We all think we understand this traffic problem, but and I've been attending these circle-to-circle meetings with the town. I'm going to give you an update on that. But before I do that, I just want to go over the problem with a slight twist. And the twist is perception versus facts. And what I mean by that is after the opening of the new clubhouse, I had the opportunity to go in and have some salad or whatever. And my wife and I were sitting there, and this mature lady came over and sat next to me. And I thought, okay, she knew my wife. She didn't sit next to her. She sat next to me. I said, okay, so there's something here. Well, she's a doyen, and she lives in Harbortown. And what she wanted to tell me was she wanted to give me the message, you know, we had a school there, along Pope Avenue once before. We didn't seem to have too many problems. And, any school, any place, any time is a good thing, okay? And if we have to suffer a little bit with it, well, we'll get over that and work the problem out. So I thought, oh, boy, how am I going to explain this to her? So I looked at my water glass, and it was full. I hadn't taken a sip yet. I said, you see that water glass? She said, yes. I said, well, it's full, isn't it? Yes. I said, well, I'm going to borrow my wife's glass, her glass. I'm going to pour some in there. And what's going to happen? It's going to overflow. Now, I can fix that problem in the restaurant if I get a bigger goblet, okay? But our problem is the Sea Pines, Pope Avenue, cul-de-sac is full. I can tell you that. You can determine it for yourself. You can go to the South Carolina Department of Transportation website, and you can see hourly traffic, and you can actually watch traffic if you go to that website. But you can research the traffic back for every day through the past year, through the past 10 years. And you can see on an hourly basis, daily basis, weekly basis, the roll-ups. My friend Dr. Engelman, who I think is here somewhere, and I, and Paul, where's Paul? There he is, Paul Crunkleton. A year plus ago, a year and a quarter ago, began to use that data. And what we determined was, very simple, if you go and plot it out on nice curves, you can show that 35 to 40% of the traffic that comes on island every day of the year, not just in tourist season, goes to the Sea Pine Circle because of the Cross Island Bridge. The Cross Island Bridge has this metering. That's where that data comes from. We have another meter just on the island for the on and off island traffic. When you look at the two curves, they're the same shape, exactly the same shape, almost exactly, which says most of this traffic coming on the island is support traffic for us. Okay, people cut our grass, rebuild the houses, and all that sort of thing. So I tried to explain to this lady that unlike the water glass, we can't make this cul-de-sac bigger. We're stuck with it. Now, how bad is it? Well, when I take a look at the students and the population attended to that, the teachers and so forth, pick your number, anything over 200 a day between 8 and 10, and in the evening, 4 to 5, though we all know that that's the most crowded times getting on the circle coming out of Sea Pines. It's most probably going to be much more than that, 450. So we're headed for this is a problem that it's not going to be able to grow out of. There's no way to grow out of this. So we've got to do something about it. Now, I'm speaking a little more aggressively here today because we're running on a schedule. There will be no more council-level meetings concerning this issue. That means the council has decided that's it. There will be 2 meetings on the same day sometime in August by the commission, what do you call it? The planning commission. And unfortunately, the only thing they're going to be able to do is look at this thing through the lens of the land management ordinance. And the land management ordinance basically says you go out this far from the property and you go to that traffic light and so forth. That's all you have to do relative to the calculations for the traffic. There's other issues that'll pop up in there, and one of them is the argument by the contractor, SRS, will be that this is a community college and therefore we can use a model based on community college. Well, it turns out, as Dr. Engelman has pointed out, and I have agreed with him through my own research, the model for the community college, as most community colleges, are in an urban suburban area, which has ground transportation to the public. So therefore, it would generate fewer cars. We don't have that. We're going to generate all those cars. So they're all going to come here in the morning and the evening. And you must take away from this meeting today that that's what's going to happen. There isn't any fiction to this. Okay. The circle-to-circle committee meetings. The ground rules that I was placed under when I agreed that I would volunteer for this is we would not challenge placing the school where it is now, where it's going. There are other TIF areas where it could have been placed. One of them, which I think would have been more appropriate, would have been the Northridge Plaza area, which is in much worse shape than what we have here. But a determination was made, and it was made by the college itself, who demanded that they wanted to have an entrance to Pope Avenue. And this was before anybody thought about traffic. So the circle-to-circle meetings now don't really focus on the traffic. I have written notes. I have pushed data at them. I have read the robust, what's the word, plan, the comprehensive plan we have in the town. I have to tell you that there's not too much comprehension in the comprehensive plan. Okay, there are only 2 successes so far. One is that the power lines are being placed underground. Now, when you look at that and you say, well, that was a pretty good success. That's nice. Well, that was easy. Why? Because the money to do that comes from us through our fees to Palmetto. Palmetto controls the area. Palmetto has people. Palmetto can execute a plan. Okay? We don't have a project management function in the town system that can execute a plan. They don't do that. They have studies and so forth and so on, and we rely on a bottoms-up approach to expanding, to continue to develop the town and redevelop it. Bottoms-up meaning we look at each little property by itself. Can't do that anymore. We're almost an urban situation. We need to have intelligent traffic light systems. Right now, our traffic engineer in the town is on call 24 hours a day. He spends most of his time running around fixing the traffic lights. Okay? There's something wrong with this picture, folks. Okay? And we're going to suffer for it. So, where am I going with this? The circle-to-circle, the only thing good about the circle-to-circle meetings is it has a public session. I can't bring up, we should put the school someplace else, because I agreed that I would live within the rules of the committee. But if you're there, you can do that. And since we're only between now and August, and we're going to have controlled meetings to approve this project, and we're going to suffer from it, The only opportunities we have is for you to show up at these public meetings. The next one for the Circle to Circle is 8:30 in the morning. I wonder why that would be, on Wednesday. Typically, they're every Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning. We didn't have one today. The only other thing I have been able to do, and my comments have yet to be published in the minutes. I have facts and figures, I put them in there, and so far, well, we'll get to that. We'll prove the minutes next time. So I'm into that kind of a situation. So the only thing I can see is that the public itself, you folks, need to show up. We had about 15 people showed up at the last meeting, but I think we need 40, 50, 60, 70 in order to get somebody's attention, that we really have to take a hard look at this. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm against everything, okay? It means that we need some more time to develop how we're going to live with this situation. If, in fact, we go through with the existing plan, it seems to me some of this TIF money ought to be diverted into modification of streets and so forth, and we need to put in place something. We can't just wait and all of a sudden 600 people show up on a Monday morning a year and a half from now, and there we are at the Circle and in the area. And I've tried to make a point also that the students, one of the things that's in the longer range plan is that we want to bring day trippers in, more, from the Bluffton, other areas and so forth and so on, into the retail areas. Well, in the cul-de-sac, the more students we put in there, the fewer people are going to show up at the stores. Who wants to wait? Nobody goes there anymore. It's too busy, right? Yogi Berra, he's right. So I encourage you, please, think about getting up early next Wednesday morning, show up, bring a couple friends.
Where is it?
It's at the town hall in the town meeting room.
Okay.
Wexford Plantation. Any questions?
Joe, I think it's worth pointing out that the SRS is the consultant on traffic who based his traffic, easy,
Here, I know. I was trying to get over here.
okay. Joe, I think it's worth pointing out that the recent traffic consultant who was hired by the town to look at the location of USCB near the Park Plaza thing, used as data from the 2010 survey, which clearly shows a remarkable reduction in traffic, obviously due to the recession. We all experienced that. There were fewer visitors, there were fewer people working, etc. But if you go back to 2005, at that time, the circuit was categorically over capacity.
That's right.
So
No.
your analogy of the glass is exactly right. Now these people are, you know, they're looking someplace, but they don't have their headlights on.
Well, let me just point out that we were already back at the 2005 level because the recession's over, and we obviously can tell that from, but we're over that level right now. So, again, you want source data, you're not going to get it from the town. That's another thing I should point out. When the town measures the traffic, they do so one day out of the year. They hire a contractor who comes in, he looks at some intersections. He might, in the morning, do the intersections going east-west, and then the same intersection north-south in the afternoon or whatever. Okay, so you end up with you certainly don't end up with exact numbers and accuracy like you do with this metering thing that are on the bridges, okay, where you can see the exact traffic the whole time. So we're already starting then with data once one day out of the year.
It's a week, Joe. It's a week.
Pardon me?
It's a week, the whole week.
All right, it's a whole week, but there are different intersections in the whole week. Yes. You check it out. Yes.
Well, we live next to the Ocean Gate, and we use that as our main entry and exit. And it's completely jammed most of the time, and it's not even, high season. And
Right.
there is plenty of space to enlarge the entrance and exit and make it a 2-lane on each side, just like the main gate, which would facilitate people who live in Sea Ponds to come in and not have to wait in line behind all the tourists buying tickets, asking for information, holding up. It's just, you know, it's not a solution to the main circle, but those who live by the Ocean Gate, it would make a big difference. And there is plenty of land to restudy that whole thing.
Well, thank you for your question. I think we have a gate committee that is looking, and I'm not on it, so I can't really speak for what it is, but it's an active program to take a look at the gates, all of them, I think. Right?
That's correct. Yes.
And should take that point up. What I'm interested in right now is trying to find a way to live with this big surge. Yes?
Is it a possibility that a permanent road could be constructed around the public shopping center area?
Well, that's my favorite topic. I didn't mention that again today, but I have mentioned that, and I have also brought that up at the Circle to Circle Committee. I also contacted Publix. They won't talk to me anymore since I pointed out they have an existing liability. I've encouraged the town to talk with them. I have not been given any assurances. In fact, they've made that approach. The value of Publix is it's the largest contiguous property owner. They own all the parking lots in there, and they own all the buildings except for one. And therefore, it would be good to engage them, especially since they do have a liability, and that we can begin to get on the basis of where we could do something. And yeah, I've walked the property a couple times with a couple experts, and there's a possibility of doing something smart in that area.
Joe, does the USCB attend the Circle to Circle meetings? Is there a representative from the college?
No.
Okay, could they be invited?
Well, they could be, but I'm not sure why they would want to be.
No, that wasn't
Yeah.
the question. I can understand why they might not want
Yeah.
to be, but if they're going to be a participant in the community and really provide a community service, they should be attending, and then that would be an opportunity to readdress that issue.
Well, I've raised the point along that line that the public ought to have been invited, because that would be much more powerful input than put us on a course where we could start some negotiations. But I'm not in charge of that. That's your town fathers. Yes.
Joe, one other thing I think you should point out on the Circle to Circle Committee restraints that you have is, and we forget about it, you're not supposed to consider the USCB
Right.
Campus. You're also not allowed to consider the new revised LMO
Right.
in the area that goes from the Circle to the Circle.
Right.
And what we tend to forget is, I believe that's probably going to even be a greater impact on traffic flow,
Right.
because it allows much more multi-unit density.
That's correct.
And that will take place over time,
Yes.
and that will obviously exacerbate the problem. So you meaning the Circle Committee has another restraint, is that's going to take place regardless of what you as a committee decide to do.
All right.
Suggest to do.
Here's my final comments on the committee. The committee is looking to the future. They should have looked to the future like they're planning on doing 5 or 6 years ago, okay? And so they don't want to tackle this problem. Now, why would that be? Well, there's stakeholders on there, and they just have different views than we do. And frankly, we've got, 5,200 residents here? 5,200, we ought to have a bigger stake in this thing. And again, the only way I know how to get it is show up on Wednesday, 8:30, bring a friend, and sound off.
And there's no way to stop this.
Well, I think there is. I think the first thing you have to do is get their attention and perhaps slow it and see what can be done. Because right now we're rushing right off the cliff. And so that's the first step. Stopping it, that could be something. Yes, sir.
Joe, as I think everybody knows here, the parcel of land in question is currently a dilapidated, deteriorated
Yeah.
office park.
Right.
I'm not sure what its capacity was at one time, but at one time it was approved to handle
Yes.
whatever traffic was
That's right.
planned there. Has the town presented any alternatives to this college campus to that space. No matter what's done with that space, it's going to create some level of traffic, and I just wondered if the town has found any alternatives for that space.
No, they have
Or do we
not.
continue to see this thing just crumble?
Well, okay, the answer to your question is no, the town has not. But we have pointed out to the town, now that they hold the deeds, they can indeed attach some covenants to that, so that we could, in fact, restrict that. You could put another church in there. I don't know what all you could do, but yes, there is a way, some mechanics that could be put in place since the town owns it. In fact, that's one of the things that really bothers me. They were going to spend, and you must have read that one lady's, I haven't met that lady, Mary Barrow. Did you read that letter in the press? Well, that came right out of the agreement that the town signed with the college. It's interesting. The college only has to come up with $2,500,000. One of the interesting things is, a side point, is they're married to Ollie. Now, we have a group that has long term, I forget the name of it, but we already have it there. Why do we need Ollie? Well, go look at Ollie's website and dig in, and you find out that if you, a college, will bring Ollie in, you may be eligible for $1 million 2 years in a row, which means that they'll have this whole thing for $500,000. So there's even more to this mystery behind this whole thing. Yes?
It seems to me that the first step really isn't getting their attention, it's getting our attention.
You're right.
And to get our attention, and just like you in the big city, you really need media and communication. And I think most of the Sea Pines homeowners are either apathetic or ignorant regarding the issue. So is there a strategy to A, get some reporter interested in bringing this out in the media, and B, under our control, getting the data out in our mailings, websites, etc., so that other homeowners will be as informed as this meeting is. But it seems to me, especially using the media, media moves political mountains, and I don't know whether we'll use that strategy or not.
Well, I plan to use it for my part as a citizen here, whether I'm a member of this committee or not. So if they won't publish the notes and things that I asked to be put in the minutes, then I intend to give that to the media. Let them, that'll give them something to think about.
Speaking of traffic, I was at the doctor's office the other day and ran into a woman that's been here 28 years, and she was telling me that they're planning on building another 100-unit timeshare right in Caligny Plaza. Is there any truth to that? Which would add more traffic to the circle.
Yes. Yes, there's some truth to that.
It's 200 units. 200 units.
200 units.
Yes, Joe. I understand from a meeting maybe last year sometime that Sea Pines Plantation actually owns the right-of-way out to the circle.
Yes, we own the streets.
So there probably would be quite additional cost if they were going to widen that or something like that. Or is there a process where we could give that to the town so the town could pay for it?
Yeah, I've raised that. And in my studies here now, looking at this thing top down and the long-range plans and so forth, it's curious to me that the town only owns 2% of all streets and roads. And a town this size. There's an aversion to owning any of this. And if you read recently in the paper, the businesses behind Main Street, that's not what it says in their document. Well, they have to update their document. In any case, does that include Main Street? All right. Well, in any case, it's a different mindset that they have. They do not have an urban top-down mindset, all right, to reconfigure the roads, organize the traffic lights, bring the computer technology in to work the queuing apparatus around the circles. Okay, they're putting in little circles. That's the other thing that's in the long-range plan that they're doing. I look at those and wonder if a fire truck can get around. I've never seen anything in the paper looking at any of that, but I question from the size of some of them whether or not that's not another problem. We do have a safety problem in Publix, and I think there needs to be a lot more done when we go in and provide, an application for anybody to build, we need to be looking at that, sewerage, safety. It's not being done. And and we use consultants, too many consultants. There needs to be somebody in charge in the town who's actually the project manager. And there isn't. Oh, this lady here.
Oh, I know I brought this up the last time, but I'm concerned about the residents mainly, and I brought up the fact that couldn't we have an entrance just for our residents off Palmetto Bay Road? And it would be for residents only, and we could cut back through into our plantation and have a gate like they have at other plantations. And that would make it nice for all of us residents just to go in that way. It would create another gate just for our residents.
I'm not sure all the property issues associated with that.
You know, I think in general, the planning of traffic from our perspective needs to continue forward as well. And we are looking at a variety of options of what we can do at the gates, as well as on Greenwood Drive, as well as any other area that we can make an improvement to help improve the way traffic flows. So we're actually participating with the town in this year's traffic study and have included or working with a proposal in now determining who's paying for it between us and the town on Greenwood Drive up through the gate, so that it would be done in conjunction so that when we get the data, we can hopefully make a better plan than what we have today, which is not much of a plan, as Joe is in.
Right.
There are two, if I could make a comment, I chair a gate configuration committee task force for CSA. And our feeling has been that we have to be looking at all the contingencies that are available to us. The Palmetto Road entrance being one of those, widening expansions into the commercial from the back gate to the front gate, et cetera, et cetera. The reality is that we are not in control. The town has control over a lot of issues that will impact what we do. So what we're trying to do on the gate configuration, as Brett just alluded to, is we're looking at all the different opportunities that are out there, but we can't move forward with Plan A or Plan B or Plan C until the town has been working on. Joe represents CSA and ASPO on the Circle of Circle. It is our voice to that point. I would also reiterate one of the points that Joe did make, is that we've made attempts to have more and more of the public involved at the LMO meetings, and at times we had 15 people. We should have had 50 to 60 people if we were really concerned. Right. The gentleman over here talked about apathy. We do have some apathy in our community because we've lived very peacefully in Sea Pines. There are things, if you read the papers, and I know you all do, renovations being done at Resort A, Resort B, Resort C. The town of Hilton Head, under new leadership, now has visionary plans for the future for the town. This is a renaissance period for Hilton Head. All the parts are moving, but unfortunately, as Joe said, they're not all moving in sync with each other. We can't control others. We can only control what's going on within our boundaries and being prepared for what comes on the outside, so that we will be able to respond internally when that is working.
Yes, sir. Well, could I have this man?
Just an additional question. It would seem to me that this development is the antithesis of what the resort would like. They've invested millions and millions of dollars, access to their businesses, which is really critical to them. And I can't even imagine the traffic at the time of the heritage. It would seem to me that the resort would be a very powerful ally. What's their role in this?
Well, they have a representative on the committee that I chair. I don't know, do you want to say anything?
We're concerned about the traffic issues as well, and we're also participant with CSA, and Joe's representing us, and we have a representative on the Circle Committee as well.
You have two more questions back here, Joe?
Yes.
I am a new member, and so this may have already been tackled, but the person who mentioned the media, when I get the CSA magazine, I don't even know what it's called, that goes out to all Sea Pine owners, I've never seen this addressed in there at all. And if we're trying to contact all the Sea Pine owners, that seems to me to be, now it's too late for the upcoming meetings, and it wasn't in the spring one for sure, but to put something in it.
Well, I agree with you. One of the things I can offer is the briefing that I provided to the mayor and council a year ago. We can put that on the website. It's in simple English. It shows you what the traffic situation at the circle is, so we can certainly put that up. If anybody, I don't know what else we could do. We could put minutes of the meetings from the Circle to Circle committee and things like that.
Okay, just in the interest of time, we're going to need to move up. We do have another meeting that's coming up after this. Let's do a couple more questions.
I was going to say, I'll hang around. I'll be happy to hang around and afterwards.
I want a clarification. I'm also new. I understand what you're saying. This gentleman in the orange, there's a gate committee too or something.
Right.
I know we can't control the outside, but I hope we can control our gates. I'd like to mirror what that gentleman said, but I also think the configuration at the main gate, we have the same problem being stuck behind the people getting in wrong lanes. There has to be a better way. Are you looking at all the circles, and can we control that better? Put it on our property.
Okay.
Let me address that question. The question was about the problem with people stacked up in the wrong lanes coming into the front, which is a problem we have because we can't control intelligence, nor can we control stupidity in that regard. We can't control people's ability to read, people's ability to control and read where they're supposed to be. As most of you know, we put signs up a year and a half ago that we intended to see if we could reduce the number of people in the wrong lane. We are now averaging, Toby, 16, 18 people a day are in the wrong lanes. Toby serves on the Security and Safety Committee that I also chair, and in that we have proposed new signage out front, because if we start making lane changes, we impact where the guardhouses have to be. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to make changes, preliminary to what happens at the circle. And we just simply don't want to spend that kind of money until we know what the outcome of the bigger picture will be. We are proposing, and it will be brought forward once we get the numbers put together, different signage out front, more signs, different spaces, of a different color. As someone described the signs that we have now to be in the proper lane, they're beautiful stealth signs. They blend in perfect with the natural beauty of sea pines. They blend in so well that people don't read them, nor do they even see them. We plan to change that on a short-term basis to see what will be the reaction to the traffic flow after we get the new signage put into place, and see if that will help address the issue of people in the wrong lanes. That's just a stepping stone. I guess my point, again, is the same thing. We've got a lot of things that are working behind the scenes. We're aware of every one of the issues with the town. The town engineers have told us that the circle is a problem. They know it's a problem, but they've got their inner working political machines over there to get things happening the right way that pleases everybody, just like every other organization does. What we have to do, as I said before, is look at all the options that are available to us that we can control. We have to have people's support to have influence to the town to make things happen. We are working with them with our circle-to-circle representation from the CSA, from the ASPO. It goes back to what we said. It's a work in progress about the traffic issue, but it's an issue that we do not have 100% control over until we get some settlement issues outside the gates.
We have one more question back here.
I just have one thing to say. I don't know where you folks lived before and you're talking about traffic. The worst I've ever sat is maybe 5 minutes. I've lived in New York, I've lived in New Jersey, I've lived in Pittsburgh. You want to talk about traffic? You want to settle some of your traffic, get us a thought to sit out there and nail the Sea Pines people and fly up the inside lane and enforce their way in because they don't want to wait in line. A lot of this is starting to sound like NIMBY to me, not apathy.
Okay. I think Joe and Mike, are you going to be around after? For any questions? questions. Right now, I'd like to move on with Toby. If Toby, you can come up, and then we'll have some questions after as well.
Thanks, Joe, Brett, for getting everybody fired up before I get up here. Just a couple of quick updates. Burglaries are continuing in the plantation. We had one last night. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, all right. We are still continuing to have burglaries in the plantation. We had one last night. These are forcible entries that have been taking place over the last couple of months. I would have thought we would have had this resolved by now. We have a very good suspicion who we think is committing the burglaries. We are working with the sheriff's office. I have a great deal of problems right now with Farmer Sea Pines residents who have associated themselves with the criminal element that's committing the crimes, and they're the ones that's calling the passes in to get the people in the plantation that's actually committing this. Not surprising, but that's exactly what's taking place. So we're working to eliminate that. I was at the office late last night shutting passcodes off. So they're not gonna use the same passcode they've been using, I can assure you of that. But we're hoping here to get an arrest in this situation. They're stealing furniture, paintings, TVs, and everything that's occurred. No one's basically seen anything, and we believe it's occurring in the late evening in the hours. Like I say, we had one last night, so we are working with that. I ask to please. I don't care if it's the neighbor moving, they're moving out of town, they've sold their house. If you see someone moving furniture, call security. I want to verify that Mr. and Mrs. Jones is moving back to New Jersey. But we've got to figure this out, because we're not putting these items in the back of a small car and driving out of the plantation. These are got to be pickup trucks, large capacity vehicles, moving the items that are being stolen. So the burglaries are continuing. Let me finish this and I'll give you, because at one point we had a focus of where they were occurring at, and now they're really all over the entire plantation. They're not focused in any particular area. Tower Beach, I'll just make one quick. If you have a locker at Tower Beach, please don't store anything outside the locker. I was down yesterday. We have ice chests, beach chairs. Everything has to go into the locker. If you did not rent a locker, you cannot use the building to store your stuff in. We're going to remove it. We're going to keep it for 30 days, and then we're going to, donate it to the thrift shop or something. But we can't clutter up the area, so please help us with that. Residential decals and ID cards will be issued starting April 27th. We're going to get through the Heritage, and then we'll start with the decal renewal. I'd mentioned before, if you had a picture on file, well, I've been told that we have very few pictures on file. So all of you get to have your picture remade again for the new ID cards. Will not take very long. If you fill out the application ahead of time, you can go to the website, fill out the application, send that in, drop it off to us. We will go ahead and fill your decals. If you have the same vehicles that you are going to have before, we will fill those, so when you come in, your decals are already ready to go. We just need to take your picture. So that will start that April 27th. Let's talk about the Heritage real quick. The week of the Heritage, Monday, just one thing I want to make mention, we're changing opening ceremonies from noon until 11 o'clock. So we're backing it up an hour. Pro-Am starting, and we've always had, by the time the opening ceremonies is over, balls are coming into the 18th green, so they're backing it up an hour. If you have not been, it's pretty impressive. CSA owns a cannon. We've been firing it for 40-plus years. We fired at open ceremonies. Apparently we're going to fire it at the end of the tournament as well. So please come out and enjoy that. It's a great time. Monday, we have the Pro-Am that will take place. I mentioned the opening ceremonies. Tuesday is all-day practice round, so there's not really any set tee times for players. They kind of come out, do their own thing, hit balls, do whatever takes place, but all-day Tuesday is a practice round. Wednesday starts the actual Pro-Am 7:15 in the morning. That will take place. I'm going to let this cat out the bag early. This year, on Friday at noon, Boeing will be doing a flyover. You should see a press release coming out. I'm being told that the plane's going to make 2 passes down the 18th green. We don't know what type of plane it is yet, but it's always a good time. Actually, I think it's a showstopper, and I think the players like to see that as well. So come out Friday around noon for a Boeing flyover, and then Thursday through Sunday actually starts tournament play. One thing I'd like to mention, and I've kind of highlighted this on here, Youth Day on Tuesday starting at 3 p.m. If you have kids that are in town for the tournament, it's the Coca-Cola Kids. It's a putting competition. They come out, they give, Coca-Cola gives all the kids a prize for participating. So if you have grandkids in town, please invite them out to that. And Sunday at 7:30 on the 18th green, there will be a sunrise service. It's something that we've done, or that Heritage has done every year. So there will be a sunrise service, 7:30 on the 18th green. Hang tag distribution started Monday, so if you live in an affected area and you need a hang tag for tournament week, we've started issuing those. We have about 5,000 to issue, so please, at your leisure, come into a CSA office. We'll get your hang tags taken care of. The trolleys, highly encourage you, if you can't walk, ride a bicycle to the tournament, you should be able to find a trolley stop somewhere within the plantation. You can ride your bike to a trolley stop. We're creating 11 additional stops in addition to wherever we currently stop at now. There's going to be 11 additional spots throughout the plantation. Monday through Wednesdays, the trolleys start at 10 a.m. and will run to 10 o'clock at night. Thursday through Sunday during tournament play, 6:30 in the morning to midnight. So ride your bike, take the trolley. You don't have to get in your car. If you can't get to a trolley stop, property owners with property owner decals on their vehicle can go to Lot 2, which is a trolley lot. You can park there and jump on the trolley from the trolley lot and ride down to Harbortown and get dropped off. So please take full advantage. We've never ran the trolleys, especially to this caliber, during the tournament time. And this is really mainly for you and resort guests to get the cars off the road and get you guys down to the tournament. Bicycles. You still can bike into the plantation. You will need a ticket to ride a bicycle into the plantation. So if you have friends that are planning to ride their bike into the tournament, not a problem. They need to have their ticket. They'll ride down. We've got maps. They're on the website now. Thanks, Frank. We've corrected the map on the website. You can bike down Plantation Drive. In the past, we've restricted bicycles. Bless you. You can drive down Plantation. We're never, hopefully, to ever park on Plantation Drive again during the tournament. So you can ride down. So quick ride down on your bicycle. Plenty of bicycle parking this year at the clubhouse. The 13th green, there'll be a lot of temporary bike racks along Plantation Drive. So if you want to ride your bike, you're more than free can. Prohibited item sheet out in the lobby. I've left some of these if you're interested in the prohibited items for the tournament. Nothing changed from last year of what you can and can't bring to the tournament, as well as a trolley schedule for the week is out in the lobby. So if you want to pick one of those up on your way out, please do that. The community center, where we're at now, during the week of the tournament, will be closed. This is going to be the command post for the security that's running the tournament. We'll have 16 agencies working out of here from the early mornings to late at night. So the community center during the week of the tournament will be closed. Handicap parking is still at Lot 25, which is the 13th green. You will be required to come to CSA to pick up a hang tag that will get you through the roadblocks to get you to the 13th green if, in fact, you need a handicap hang tag. So that parking is still available. Roadblocks during the week of the tournament. This was I just left this morning the Harbortown Merchants. There's a lot of people that's not happy about this, but it's unfortunate, but it's what we have to do. Starting every day of the tournament, starting Monday morning at 6:30 a.m., the roadblocks go up. They do not come down until the last ball drops or the considered portion of the players are off the golf course. So you're looking at the earliest 6:30 in the evening before we pull the roadblocks up. The last thing we need is for people to looking for a parking spot at Harbortown that does not exist. Liberty Oak is being used by the tournament as well as Artist Way. There is no general parking. A ticket does not get you into the plantation anymore during the week of the tournament. There's nowhere to park. I've been invited into a chain of emails that's taking place. You would be surprised at the emails that are going around where people are telling each other to go park during the week of the tournament. I will be honest with you, it's faster. If you talk to anyone that rode a bus last year, it's faster to go to Honeyhorn and get on the bus to get into Harbortown than it was parking on a power line. Should take 18 minutes and we've added 4 additional buses, 55 passenger buses to get you from the general parking to Harbortown. There is no general spectator parking. I do expect that the Plantation Club, the Beach Club is going to fill up because that apparently is in the emails now. Just go there and tell them you're eating lunch and park and get on the trolley and ride it to the tournament. The trolleys will be stopping at those locations, so we fully anticipate that the Beach Club and Plantation Club is going to be filled. But there is no general parking anywhere in here. We're not filling up the power lines to the capacity that we have in the past because, to be honest with you, we would not have accomplished anything. The key reason of moving general parking is to be able to move an emergency vehicle in the event we had to into Harbortown. So that was the plan. That was one of the big pushes to get people out, to open up, to allow the residents to be able to move around and to move emergency vehicles around the plantation and not be stuck in traffic. Any other questions concerning the tournament? Yes, sir. Charlie, will you need a ticket for the opening ceremony? In the old days, you didn't need to, but the last year or two, you needed one. You will need a ticket for opening ceremonies. I've invited the 26 troopers. We're bringing 8 in early for opening ceremonies. We're going to cordon the area off. The prohibited item rules is in effect. You'll be able to sit in the grandstands there at 18 and watch we've been filling them up every year. I think we get more and more people every year. It's a great event, but you will need a ticket to attend opening ceremonies. Yes, sir.
This spring, 2 significant things are happening in our community. Number one, if you are a resident of Long Cove or Shipyard or someplace like that and have a ticket to the Heritage and try to get in the Sea Pines Gate, they won't let you in. If you're riding a bicycle, they'll let you in. Thank you, George. So that's one. That's a big change. Think about it. Cars can't get in, bikes can. Second thing is, Lynx Magazine is a industrial strength golf magazine, and in it they have the most wonderful article about Sea Pines. It's absolutely a wonderful article. This whole magazine is about golf and golf communities and what's different about them. And in here, for the first time ever in a golf magazine, is a picture of a bicycle. It's in Sea Pines, and it talks about bicycles. And it says, bicycling to Sea Pines is like the New York City subway system in New York City. So let's not forget about bicycles and all this transportation stuff, folks. Thank you very much.
And just to last mention, the prohibited items list. Please, if you don't know what's allowed on the golf course, please take a look at it. We issued over 3,000 bag tags last year for the golf course each day. We're not going to do that this year. If you show up at the tournament and you have a prohibited item, you're going to be removed from the golf course. So I highly suggest, this is no different than any other PGA tournament that's out there, or for that matter, any other professional sports venue. You can't take a beach bag into an NFL stadium. Same thing here. So please, if you don't know what they are, please grab one of those sheets because you're going to be removed from the golf course. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Toby. I know Michael and Joe are available for additional questions regarding traffic afterwards. I'd like to kind of open it up to other questions not related to those so they can address those separately. Yes?
Yeah, I have an item for Charlie Minor.
Oh, good.
Charlie, you presented 3 bylaw amendments which are obviously not controversial at all. However, I think that the process of doing this is wrong as a precedent. Amendments to bylaws, whether they be for CSA or ASPO, should not be presented on the final ballot before they've been discussed. There could be some very controversial things which could arise. And I think that both organizations should take it under advisement that property owners be given the right to discuss this before they're given a ballot where most people will not understand necessarily what the issues are.
I'll use the old technology to answer that. First of all, ASBO board meetings are held here, and they're open to the public. So any discussion of bylaw changes is done in a public forum. The minutes are published, which include those bylaw changes. So if you read the minutes, if you look at the website, or if you attend the meeting, there is nothing that is a surprise to anybody. I would agree with you that if we were to do something controversial, I think it probably requires far more communication with the community, and I simply give you my pledge that I have no plan to sneak anything by this community, nor do I even have the ability to do that, because again, people like you provide wonderful watchdog service for this community, and I don't think I could ever do anything even if I wanted to, so thank you.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure that Joe can answer this. Coming out of Harris Teeter trying to turn into Sea Pines. I mean, that's a death trap. Is there anything that they plan to do to help? Yes.
That's been discussed. We've had some other meetings before the Circle to Circle, and we had discussed that. I'm not sure exactly where we are on that, but one of the things that's been suggested is that that would be a one-way, and you wouldn't be allowed to come back out and go left. Now, that causes another issue. You have to go around the circle and come back in. So there's been that kind of discussion, but there's been no decisions.
I think all of that is part of a comprehensive study of what's happening and how we can improve it. We've got a lot of challenges at the gates, at the circle, in the, as we call it, the cul-de-sac on the South Island. And it is pretty much seasonal or time of day. We just need to figure out what's going to be the best solution. And Joe and Michael, as well as other members of the board and the community have been participating diligently with the town, kind of, unfortunately, kind of after the LMO got done, but it was an issue before, it's an issue now, it's something that we need to get resolved, and we need to get the town focused on it. Yes. Yes. Okay, other questions? Great, well, thank you very much, we'll see you again in another month.